Welcome to Housekeepers Half Hour. This is a reproduction of a radio show that was broadcasted by the United States Department of Agriculture in 1926. Disclaimer: do not assume contents of this production reflect current scientific knowledge, policies, or practices. This episode was aired and released March 18th, 1926.
What shall we have for dinner? Lenten menus are still in order, therefore an egg dinner is an excellent solution of this ever-present problem. This is the time of year to eat omelets of every sort, as well as eggs cooked in the many other appetizing ways. Whether you like your omelets fluffy, as many expert American cooks make them, or flat as the French think they should be, makes no difference in the food value of the result. We'll tell you how to make each kind after a few minutes, and you can take your choice. As a source of efficient protein, minerals, and vitamins, eggs can hardly be surpassed by any other one food, unless it be milk. In iron, egg yolk is the richest of all our common foods. So in planning to make omelet the main dish for dinner, you may be quite certain that you are following the requirements of good nutrition, as well as those of economy and of the Lenten season. You may, of course, make any kind of an omelet you like best, but we are suggesting a plain omelet with a tasty Spanish sauce, which will be especially good with rice. For a first course in today's dinner, we have planned corn soup. This is made with milk and canned corn, so the materials present no special problem, but you will hear the exact recipe later. Some of those tiny little cheese-flavored crackers, or larger crackers toasted with cheese on top, could be served with the soup. If you haven't had whole wheat bread or graham biscuits lately, they would be very good with the omelet course. The omelet must be kept warm while the soup is being eaten. A very low oven will take care of this. Do not pour the Spanish sauce over the omelet until the last minute. Be sure to have an abundance of the sauce, however, so that it may be used on the rice too. Yellow or rutabaga turnips are among the most delicious of the winter vegetables. Above all things, don't overcook them. Yellow turnips are valuable as a source of vitamin C, and long cooking destroys this vitamin. Also, long cooking makes turnips strong and dark and entirely spoils their fresh, sweet flavor and attractive yellow color. Flash and pare them and cut them in thin round slices or in pieces small enough to boil tender in from 15 to 20 minutes. Use salted water to cover them, with a teaspoonful of salt and 1 of sugar to each pound of the vegetable. When the turnips are done, drain and mash them, and season them liberally with butter as well as salt and pepper. Or pour some cream into the mashed turnips if you have it, or keep the thin round slices whole and pour some melted butter over them in the serving dish as they go to the table. Applesauce with cupcakes makes an easy dessert. Use cookies if you prefer them or have them on hand. Here is the complete menu: corn soup, omelet with Spanish sauce, rice, yellow turnips, applesauce, and cupcakes. Today's best recipes. You will need your notebooks and pencils now to take down the recipes. The first is corn soup. The ingredients required are as follows: a can of corn, 1 pint of milk, 1 slice of onion, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, a dash of pepper, and a little paprika. If the corn is in large kernels, you may wish to put it through a coarse sieve before adding it to the other ingredients of the soup. This is a matter of personal preference, however, and some persons like the grains of corn better. Mince the onion and cook it in the butter for about 5 minutes, but do not let it brown. Then add the flour, add the milk to the corn, and bring to the scalding point. Thicken with the mixture of flour, butter, and onion, and add the seasonings. If you wish only a slight trace of onion flavor, put the slice of onion in the milk and heat in the double boiler for 15 or 20 minutes instead of cooking it in the butter. Remove the onion and combine the other ingredients of the soup in the way we have described. A few grains of popped corn on the top of a dish of corn soup adds a festive touch. To make a fluffy omelet, separate the yolks and whites carefully and beat them well. To the yolks, add as many tablespoons of milk as you have eggs and enough salt for seasoning, and mix well. Then fold in the fluffy whites until they are well blended, but be careful not to stir roughly, and so release the air which you have taken pains to beat into the whites. Many cooks prefer to use water in place of milk. Choose a heavy pan, such as an iron skillet, if you have one, and of such size that the mixture will cover it about 1 inch deep when it is poured in. Put this pan on to heat while you are beating the eggs. Melt in it enough butter to coat the bottom, but do not allow the butter to brown. If the butter gets too hot, it may cause the omelet to burn and the flavor will be ruined. The secret of a perfect omelet is to cook it at a moderate temperature. Pour the egg mixture into the skillet and cook it at a low, even heat. The air then has a chance to expand and raise the omelet before the proteins of the egg and milk set. Managed in this way, they set gradually without becoming tough, and the omelet cooks through thoroughly. If you are using a small-size gas or oil burner, move the pan about so that the omelet will cook around the edge at the same rate it does in the center. Use a spatula or broad, thin limber knife to lift the edges of the omelet gently in order to find out when it has browned on the bottom. Then put in under a low flame in the broiling oven or on the shelf of a hot baking oven for a few minutes until the top sets. Or if you prefer, cover the pan during the whole cooking period and so cook the top of the omelet with steam. Then crease it through the center, fold it over with your spatula or knife, and turn it onto a hot platter without attempting to lift it out of the pan. Pour the Spanish sauce over it and serve at once. Flat omelets, as the French make them, are a little easier and quicker to handle because the yolks and whites of eggs are beaten together, not separately. Milk or water is added in the same proportion, 1 tablespoon to each egg. Use a large heavy pan with melted butter, again being careful not to have it too hot and to cook the mixture slowly and evenly on both top and bottom. When it is golden brown, roll it in the pan and turn it out onto a hot platter. Spanish or Creole sauce depends for its characteristic flavor on a combination of pimento or green pepper, tomato, celery, and onion. Minced ham or bacon is often added as in the following recipe, but for a Lenten menu may be omitted. The ingredients are 1 pint of canned tomatoes, 1 chopped green pepper, or an equal quantity of chopped canned pimentos, a half cup of finely chopped raw celery, 2 tablespoons of chopped onion, 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 tablespoon of sugar, if liked, a half tablespoon of minced parsley, 4 tablespoons of minced ham or bacon, 1 bay leaf, salt and pepper to taste. The onion is minced and cooked in the butter until it is tender and yellow. Then the peppers, celery, tomatoes, and seasonings are added and simmered together for half an hour. Remove the bay leaf before serving. This sauce will be somewhat thickened as the moisture cooks out of the various vegetables, but it will need at least a tablespoon of flour blended with a little melted butter stirred in toward the end of the cooking period. Pour it over the omelet and serve. As already said, there should be plenty of the sauce so that some may be eaten with the rice too. Just how much you will need will of course depend on the size of your omelet. You can easily enlarge this recipe by adding more tomato. Questions women are asking. Question: what food elements do turnips supply in the diet? Answer: turnips have been discovered to be a rich source of vitamins, especially vitamin C. Only comparatively few of our common foods are known to contain this particular vitamin, and it seems to be rather easily affected by heat of cooking and aging of the food material. It is a good plan, therefore, to include quickly cooked turnips often in the winter menu. They are also rich in calcium, a mineral constantly needed by the body. Question: what is a good way to use up leftover hominy grits? Answer: cutting them in slices and browning in butter or other fat makes leftover grits into a most appetizing dish good to serve at any meal. The slices should be at least a half-inch thick, dipped in flour, and fried a delicate brown on both sides. Have the fat hot enough to form a brown crust quickly on the grits before the inside soaks up the fat. Also time the cooking so that the fried grits can be served as soon as they are browned. Question: why is an abundance of eggs in the diet said to be better for you than an iron tonic? Answer: egg yolk heads the list of iron-rich foods and is one of the best possible means of supplying the body with this valuable mineral, says the United States Department of Agriculture. It contains phosphorus and calcium, too, elements needed to build bones, teeth, and other tissues. The white of eggs come very near to being pure protein, which is one of the chief substances of our bodies. Eggs are also rich sources of vitamins, those ABCs of the diet needed to promote health and proper development. Taken all in all, then, the hen beats the doctor as a mixer of spring tonic, for she combines minerals with other valuable foods in a form that the body finds particularly useful. Question: what is the difference between chocolate and cocoa? Answer: chocolate and cocoa are both derived from the seeds of trees growing in tropical countries which differ in genus from those which produce coconuts. Chocolate results from grinding the roasted seeds freed from germ and shell or husk and contains 50% or more of fat. The ground seeds are sometimes subjected to hydraulic pressure to obtain the cacao fat or butter, whereby more than one-half is removed. The residue remaining when ground and sifted produces cocoa. Breakfast cocoa contains not less than 22% fat. Question: how can I tell whether or not a fabric is all linen? Answer: the only way of being sure is to examine some of the fibers under a microscope. There are physical characteristics of the flax fiber which distinguish it very markedly from cotton. The tests usually advocated, such as moistening a spot and noting whether or not the moisture spreads rapidly, are of very little value. A small quantity of mercerized cotton may be very well concealed in so-called linen fabrics and cannot be detected by household methods. Question: when I attempt to remove spots from soiled garments which cannot be washed, rings are usually left. Can this be avoided? Answer: the rings left on the fabric around the place from which a stain has been removed are usually due to an accumulation of the sizing or dressing placed on the cloth by the manufacturer. This dissolves in the solvent used in cleaning and runs into the outer edge of the circle of moist fabric. Often this can be avoided by gently working the solvent into the fabric with a piece of cheesecloth or a sponge, having a blotter or cheesecloth pad underneath to absorb the soiled solvent as it passes through the fabric. In this way, the dressing may be scattered into the surrounding fabric where it will not show. A very bad case of ring formation can only be remedied by dipping the entire garment in a solvent, such as gasoline. This is not a wise thing to do in the home, however, as the danger of fire not only from open flames, but from electric discharges between parts of the garment is very great. Question: what is a safe method of removing grease spots at home? Answer: almost all effective fat solvents are inflammable and are not to be recommended for home use. An exception to this is carbon tetrachloride, which can be purchased at any drugstore. It will be found to be a very valuable addition to the spot-removing materials kept in the cleaning closet. Place the wrong side of the fabric face down on a blotter and apply small quantity of the solvent with a small piece of cheesecloth or a sponge. A pad of cheesecloth may be used in place of the blotter, sometimes to much better effect. The stain may be soaked in a small amount of the solvent placed in a small dish, although this method is more likely to produce a ring. Question: does a septic tank kill disease germs? Answer: no. Some of the harmful germs in sewage die during their passage through a tank, but a septic tank has no more power of killing germs than does an ordinary barrel, box, or cistern. A portion of the solids in the sewage decompose or rot, but the escaping liquid is still foul and dangerous. A Farmer's Bulletin Sewage and Sewerage of Farm Homes gives further information. You can find a link to this bulletin below. Question: my well water stinks. What shall I do? Answer: the trouble is probably due to the death and the decomposition of animal or vegetable matter which has dropped in through openings in the wall top. Stop using the water for drinking, cooking, or dishwashing unless it is boiled, and thoroughly clean the well. Methods of cleaning are described in Farmer's Bulletin, Farmstead Water Supply. You may also find a link to this bulletin in the comments below. Question: the constant drip of a kitchen faucet annoys me. How can I stop it? Answer: replace the worn seat washer with a new fiber washer. Shut off the water, unscrew the cap nut, unscrew the stem from the body of the faucet, unscrew the washer screw with a screwdriver, put on a new washer, assemble the parts, and turn on the water. Use Farmer's Bulletin's Simple Plumbing Repairs in the Home for more detailed directions. You can find a link to this bulletin below also. Well, this concludes this broadcasting of Housekeepers Half Hour. I'm your host, Aunt Sammy. If you did indeed enjoy this broadcast, please consider listening to any of our other broadcasts. New shows are to be put out every week for new education and your listening pleasure. Until next time, remember to keep it tidy.
This production was researched and produced by BreakAway Empire LLC.